Bonjour tout le monde, bonjour à tous. Bienvenue sur la chaîne psycholinguist. Welcome everyone to the channel psycholinguist. Here today we will discuss for the first time, very first time on YouTube, your UGC net French syllabus. Alright, so there is nothing regarding these languages if we consider French as well, if we consider Hola Spanish as well, if we consider Chinese, if we take German, Alemán, and many more languages. There's nothing about this for your net examination. So here we come psycholinguist. So if you have related to any of these foreign languages, you can subscribe the channel psycholinguist. And let's start today with the UGC net French syllabus for your upcoming December 2023 examination and moving forward the syllabus. So as you know already that the paper comes totally of 150 questions considering of paper 1 plus paper 2 as well. Paper 2 consists of 100 questions completely in French, right? So 100 questions in French. Let's start. The subject côté is 39. Syllabus matière le français. Programme d'études. La preuve comprend 10 units auto. Chaque unit comprendra 10 questions de type objectif et portera sur des thèmes suivants. Alright. So these are the 10 units that you have to study for your 200 marks in paper 2. Unit 1. Littérature français du Moyen Âge ou 18e siècle. ठीक then unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, unit 5, unit 6, like this 10 units you have to study. So we will discuss all of them one by one. So for your understanding, this syllabus of French is given in English as well by the UGC. So we will look into it. Unit 1, it is asking about medieval to 18th century French literature. Unit 2, we have to study 19th to 20th century French literature. Unit 3, Francophone post-colonial literature. Unit 4 means translation studies. Unit 5, translation in practice. Unit 6, history, geography, social and political life of France. Then Unit 7, art and culture of France. Unit 8, linguistics. Unit 9, written comprehension and language use. And Unit 10, didactics of languages and cultures. So first of all, if we talk about Unit 1, medieval to 18th century French literature. So Unit 1 comprises of medieval to 18th century French literature, major literary movements that happened during these 18th century, medieval literature, Renaissance, Classicism, Baroque and Enlightenment. All these happens around 18th century. So from medieval to 18th century French literature, what was happening over there you have to read. And then Unit 2, 19th to 20th century French literature, major literary movements that happened was realism, romanticism, symbolism, surrealism, new wave novel, new wave theater, existentialism, postmodernism, women's writing, migrant literature. Alright, and to read all these, this is provided suggested reading. What it is littérature du Moyen Âge. Then this from Nathan collection, Henry Metran, 1991. Littérature siècle, littérature these, with these, neuf, and likewise Christine Albert's L'immigration dans le roman francophone contemporain. Then Michael Labrie, Jean Roy pour une littérature monde. So all these are considered to be the suggested readings for the above two topics, Unit 1 and Unit 2. Then we move on to the Unit 3, Francophone post-colonial literature. What was happening in literature after the post-colonialism in the Francophones? Not just the France but Francophone countries as well. Major literary trends in Francophone literatures from the beginning to the present day. Literature from French-speaking Canada. Alright, French-speaking comes from different states and different countries as well. Canada, especially prominent works of Gabriel Roy, Hubert Aquin, Michael Tremblay, Anne Hebert, Antonin Milet, Monique Kroll, Kim Thua. Literatures from the Asia Pacific region as well. From the Asia Pacific, prominent works of Phan Van Kai, Loknath Bhattacharya, Linda Le, Tishnathan, Shuman Sinha, Vijay Singh. Literature from the Maghreb, especially prominent works of Kateb Yassin, Tahar Ben Jolun, Rachid Boujedra, Asiya Rajbar, Leela Sabar. And then from literatures from the Indian Ocean region, especially prominent works of Ananda Devi, Natasha Apana, Michel Rokotsam, Jean-Luc Rahari Manana, Alex Govin. Literature from the Caribbean, especially prominent all these francophone countries that we are having francophone. After the post-colonial, what was happening in the literature, they are asking about that. Literature from francophone Africa as well. Amadou Koroma, Alain Mabancao, Sheikh Hamido Khan, Bongo Beti, Leopold Sedar Senghor. All these and suggested reading here is provided like Literature francophone d'Asie et du Pacifique anthologie of the Jean-Louis Joubert. Literature francophone anthologie sur same thing. Literature francophone de l'océan Indien and same likewise. So this is the unit number 3. Then unit number 4, translation studies, the study of translation as an interdisciplinary field interfacing with other disciplines from linguistics to cultural studies. Definitions of translation, how interlingual, intralingual, and intersemiotic translation is being done. Then translation and interpretation, linguistic approaches to translation, how a linguistic approach, interpretive theory of translation. If you have not yet subscribed the canal, subscribe the channel. Concept in translation such as adaptation, coherence, cohesion, context, imprint, equivalence, forme, fidelity, procede de traducción, procedure de la traducción. Alright, so what are all the things we do while in translation? Pedagogical translation versus professional translation. How a pedagogical translation is different from professional translation. Study of terminology in various fields of science and technology. Teaching of translation. Translation and ideology. Politics of translation. Alright, so these all comes under the unit number 4. And then unit number 5, translation in practice. To be able to solve multiple difficulties while translating a text from French to English, from Français to Anglais, and vice versa. English to French, French to English, you have to do in unit number 5. The difficulties can be due to different worldview, cultural differences, lexical lacuna, different structures of languages. Alright, to be able to recognize and use different procedures de traduction such as imprint, calque, adaptation, equivalence, and modulation. All these to be done from unit number 5, and suggested reading is provided such as like this. La traducción raison, alright. And then we move on to unit number 6, history of geography of social and political life of France. All things happening around 1887, 1889, a broad outline of the history, the Renaissance period, the French Revolution, the social and the political life in France, the 14 Juillet, alright, 14 Juillet. Unit number 7, arts and culture in France, what is happening in the art and culture. The suggested reading is provided, de la nouvelle vague à nos jours, la gastronomie française, alright, all these you have to read for your unit number 7. You can refer to, not read all of those, but you can refer to apart from your MA syllabus. And then the linguistics, to be able to understand the basic linguistic concepts such as lang and parole, code and message, syntagmatic and paradigmatic relation, linguistic competence and performance, specific characteristics of human language, to be able to describe language about the phonemes and all that, syllable and rhythm group, difference between phonetics and phonology, what is the difference, nature of the linguistic sign, syllable and rhythm group, morphology and syntax in French language, how it is affected, language varieties and registers, immediate constituent analysis, theories on enunciation, identification of different functions of language, Jacobson by Jacobson, then pragmatics, speech acts, performative verbs, discourse analysis, coherence and cohesion. Alright, all these will fall under unit number 8. Then we move on to the next, and you can do the suggested reading of all these. Alright, then unit number 9, apart from reading all these, you should refer to PYQs and rely on them more often. Write written comprehension and language use, to be able to comprehend written text through typographic, contextual, and thematic clues. Exercises on idiomatic expressions, registers of language, punctuation, anaphors and cataphors, logical and rhetorical articulators. To be able to identify different types of text, descriptive, argumentative, epistolary, etc. Alright, all these fall under unit number 9. And we are also in the Navium minute as well. And then we move on to unit number 10, didactics of language and cultures, historical evolution of methodology in FLT with special reference to French, as the result of research in linguistic sciences, psychology, sociology, cultural studies, technology, etc. Definitions of method, methodology, manual, didactic. Definitions of these: communicative approach, actional or task-based approach, use of authentic documents in language teaching, problems and perspectives in teaching, learning of French in the Indian context. This might be important. Principles of material production, interculture in language teaching, learning, types of evaluation, formative and summative, etc. CECR, cadre européen commun de référence pour la langue, niveau commun de référence, French for specific purposes, technologies de l'information et de la communication pour l'enseignement, TICE, this is important, and then the next, critical appraisal of different textbooks, Dondo, Coup de langue et civilisation français, Magor bleu, Magor rouge, De vive voix, Cadre sous table, Nouveau sans frontières, Archipel Connexion, Alter Ego, Eco, Version Original. Alright, all these books, critical appraisal of these books. This is unit number 10. And so we move on to the next thing, which is the suggested reading. You can refer to these as well. Alright, okay, so these are all the 10 units in Anglais and French, both of them. So all the questions that you will be reading is like la traduction est en chambre d'études interdisciplinaires. So all these questions will be completely in long français. All right. So 100 questions in completely French language. You have to comprehend, you have to learn, and these were the 10 units that you have to study for clearing your UGC net French examination. All right. Okay. So this was all from my side, French linguist. I hope you liked the video. You have seen the syllabus for French UGC net examination, and to subscribe the channel, you will be getting more on this channel for these foreign languages. And if you are someone into Chinese, Japanese, Russian, etc., Spanish, etc., do subscribe the channel French Linguist. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.